choose a diet, just eat an array of plant and animal foods from nature, get rid of the junk food. That's it. It's really that simple.
Hey guys, welcome back to the First Hustle Then Brunch podcast. I'm your host Jazzy, and today I'm speaking with Laura Lyons, who is a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. Her goal is to help women understand their bodies better, take the fear out of food, and help women thrive in a world of diet culture and confusion. She is a food-first practitioner and helps women conquer their symptoms and create balance within through mineral balancing, comprehensive lab testing, diet, and lifestyle changes. This is honestly a Q&A for me. You'll hear I just asked a lot of random questions that I had about nutrition and wellness and all that stuff that I think will benefit so many people, especially women and especially people who are pursuing entrepreneurship or they're juggling a full-time job and potentially trying to figure out how to start something on the side too. So without further ado, let's dive in. Hey Laura, welcome to the podcast.
Hi.
So excited to have you here.
Yeah.
So on this show, we talk a lot about business growth and ways to make money online and that sort of thing, but we haven't done an episode on health and wellness. And so I think this is really important because we obviously have to take care of our bodies in order to show up for ourselves, show up for our business and our family and everything else that we have going on. So welcome. I'm looking forward to learning a lot more from you.
Yeah, no, awesome. Yeah, I think even the stuff we're going to be talking about, I do feel like we'll be able to bring it into entrepreneurship and all of that too. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and what you do?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I'm Laura Lyons. I am a functional health practitioner. I work with women mostly mostly with about, hormones and digestion are my main focus points. But yeah, I mean, I've created a few different courses. I have a whole course on digestion. I also have a course on hormones. All of it's nutrition based. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I also just came out with a ebook called Eat Your Prenatal. So that's awesome. It's all about having a more food-based approach to your pregnancy as opposed to taking a catch-all supplement like a prenatal.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's really cool. I actually just had a baby almost 8 months ago now. Yeah. So
yeah.
I saw that you had that ebook and I was like, oh man, I wish I had that when I was going through,
you
pregnancy.
would still benefit. You would still totally benefit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because it's all about the nutrients that we need just to keep our body nourished and feeling good, especially postpartum. A lot of times women feel worse after they have a baby and they're like, oh my God, like I've just got so depleted. That had to have been why. But a lot of it comes down to the nutrition piece that was missing all along. So yeah.
I think especially if you're nursing, I definitely felt completely drained.
Totally. Your nutrient, your requirements are so much higher. We forget about that. A lot of us are like, I want to get my body back and I'm going to go work out like a crazy person.
So much. Yeah.
So much. And people don't realize that. So yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, I guess along those lines, I saw a post recently where you were saying that people may have unrealistic expectations when it comes to women's health, especially due to masculine lifestyles. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. So, the great thing about being a woman is that our hormones ebb and flow, right? We have a monthly cycle. So we're living in this world that is based off of a masculine cycle. Men have a 24-hour cycle. So that's why, the 9-to-5 jobs, that works great for them. But for us, having a 9-to-5 job might not necessarily work best for us based off of our hormones since they ebb and flow throughout the month. So we're living in this overly masculinized, like go, 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 super stressful life. All of us we're all living this lifestyle basically until we come to maybe my page and realize, wow, what have I been doing? And this is another reason why a lot of women become entrepreneurs because they have more freedom, right? Like they're able to work with their bodies and not against it in these 9-to-5 jobs. So yeah, basically most of us have been living in this extreme state of stress our whole lives because we're told to just do, go. And that doesn't work for women. It never has.
Yeah.
It wasn't even until when I'm trying to think of like the time period of when women started going to work, 9 to 5. And that has been pretty detrimental on us having to show up and work 9 to 5 at certain times of our cycle. So it's not saying to like get rid of the 9 to 5 job, but we also need to tune in to our cycle and understand and not continue to push and understand why at certain times of our cycle, we might, maybe feel a little bit more lazy. Or maybe we're like on top of it. Like this is the time to do a project, like that all changes throughout the month. And you might notice that some days you're like, I am just not having it. And then other days you're like, I'm on top of the world. Like I can do everything,
Right.
So yeah, I think the masculine lifestyle that we're all living, this super stressful lifestyle, is having a downstream effect on our hormones and our fertility and just our overall how we feel, how we feel as women. We're no longer connected to that peace anymore. And a lot of us are going on birth control so that we can continue to do and have this masculine lifestyle, which again, that's so detrimental in the long run. So,
Yeah, there's so many directions this conversation can go and so many questions I want to ask you. I know I've heard a lot about cycle syncing, and I'm sure you've heard that term used before. And basically it's like even working out, you can work out in alignment with your cycle, which is really interesting. And then working and the specific tasks that you're doing each month. So fascinating. I haven't attempted it. I need to learn more about it, but I feel like we could do a whole episode on that. That
Totally.
alone.
Totally. And it's different for everybody, I mean, some people kind of just depends on the state of your body and how resilient to stress you are. So a lot of the work that I do is about helping women build resiliency in their body, because you're never going to get rid of stress, right? Like it's pretty impossible. So it has a lot to do with building up resiliency. So, some people are on that camp of where you should never do hard workouts. You should never work out on your cycle, things like that. And I'm kind of in between because it really depends on the person, really, truly, and their resiliency to stress. So a lot of my work is about building up resiliency so that when you do have stress, your body can handle it and you don't, because the stress is the driver of disease. So, the more stress you keep filling your bucket with, that's when it's going to overflow and you're going to have symptoms. So a lot of my work is just about building resiliency to these stressors, basically. So
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I know you're an expert on digestion and the digestive system overall and how that relates to your metabolism and hormones and physical, mental health, everything basically. Can you give like an overview of how that's all connected?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, in my practice specifically, the first things we work on, I talk a lot about hormones, but the hormone piece is not the root cause. Your digestive system and your minerals are usually what's out of whack that's creating these down the stream effects that are then impacting your hormones. So basically, it comes down to minerals and nutrients and how well we're able to absorb those nutrients and those minerals. Basically, our entire body runs off of minerals. And if our digestive system is out of whack, guess what? We're not going to have minerals. Minerals give us energy to be able to support our thyroid, to support our adrenal glands, to support every process. Just me doing this with my hands right now, it requires minerals. It requires energy just to be able to do that. So our body is made up of this. Our cells are made up of that. And our digestive system, if it's out of whack, which most of us have pretty wrecked digestive systems just growing up on processed foods and, stress, all of the things, our digestive system will only function if it's in a parasympathetic state. So a non-stressed out state is the only time our digestive system will actually function. So most of us have digestive issues, and then down the stream, then we're not utilizing nutrients and minerals to be able to support every process in our body. Every single process in our body requires minerals.
So. Yeah, and I feel like, sometimes when you go to the doctor, they'll do blood work and you'll kind of see maybe some of your vitamin levels. I know, especially when I was pregnant, they did blood work and I was deficient in vitamin D. So I had to take a supplement for that and that sort of thing. But I don't remember ever taking a test for minerals, like assessing where I'm at there. So what sorts of testing is available to help people kind of understand their overall health currently?
Totally. So yeah, this is kind of where blood work, I like blood work for certain purposes, but it doesn't show the full picture. So it's like, okay, great, your vitamin D was low. Why is it low though? So that's where all the other testing kind of comes in. So is it because you're low on copper? Is it also because you're low on magnesium? A lot of that stuff won't show up on a blood test, but it will show up on like a hair tissue mineral analysis test because it's showing what's going on in your tissues. And what's going on like a cellular level. So hair tissue mineral analysis, that gives us an outline of all of your minerals, what's going on there, what imbalances we're having, if things are low, high, all of the things. Also heavy metals are on there. So heavy metals can actually displace minerals in your body. So if you don't have minerals in your body to be able to detox heavy metals, then you're going to be full of heavy metals. Or if you have too many heavy metals, that's going to take place of minerals and your minerals are going to be really low. So you can also see the heavy metals, and then you can also see what's going on with like your thyroid, your adrenals, your blood sugar, all of that based on a mineral cellular level. Yeah, it is a cool test. So that is the test I usually recommend when it comes to minerals. I do also offer like GI mapped stool testing. Love it. Absolutely love that. That's, again, it's coming to the two things that I love the most, which is going to be your digestive system and your minerals. Those two are going to determine everything. A comprehensive blood panel can be helpful, especially when it comes to looking at like thyroid or lipids, things like that, or possibly, if we want to look deeper at your blood sugar, like your glucose, insulin, HbA1c, things like that. But it's not super accurate when it comes to hormones or minerals or nutrient status, basically. The Dutch test is also great. That's a hormone panel test. It shows what's going on with like your estrogen detox pathways, progesterone, testosterone, all of the things. Also, your adrenals are on there as well. So we're able to see a snapshot of what's going on with your cortisol. So that's a great test too. But again, like that wouldn't be my first mode of action because hormones are downstream. So I would rather see something like an HTMA and a GI map to see what's going on in that department. And then that will likely address what's going on with the hormone stuff too.
Okay. Where do people find these tests? Because they can't get them at like a regular doctor, right?
Yeah, you would have to go to a functional, like somebody like me, a functional nutritionist, functional doctor, maybe like a naturopath. But yeah, your regular doctor, I've had people like ask their doctors if they can, run these tests, and they just look at them like, no, I don't read those. I don't do that. Like they don't understand it. So, you would have to find like an alternative type of doctor or nutritionist to run them for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then for that hair test that you mentioned, how does that work? Like how much of your hair do you have to give?
I know. That's always the scary part. That's like the one thing we always get asked. So it's not as much hair as you think, and you can take it from a few different sections. It is from the scalp though. So you're not taking like a bottom piece. We're seeing what's going on with your cells over the past 3 months. So we need it from your scalp. So you do have to cut a little piece from your scalp, and you can do it in like 2 different areas. So that way you're not like taking a chunk from there, but it's just like just a tiny, tiny little sample, like not even an inch that you'd be taking. So yeah, it's not terrible. I mean, obviously some people freak out about it, but I have people that run tests. I mean, I do it on myself every like 3 to 6 months, and I'm not bald yet. So, it's not that much hair.
Do it all the way underneath your hair so you can cover it up.
Yeah. You put it's like at the base, of your head. So you don't even see it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I'd be curious just to see like where I fall. It'd probably be terrible.
Yeah. Well, you did just have a
shocked
baby.
At your results. Yeah.
Well, you did just have a baby, and you do lose about 10% of your minerals to your baby typically. So unless like you were super intentional with eating and making sure you're getting in all of these certain nutrients and all of the things during pregnancy, pregnancy, you likely are a bit depleted for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
unless you're working on those specific things. So, yeah.
Yeah, which most people probably aren't if they don't
No.
know where they're at, currently.
Totally, totally. And you can supplement your way into a deficiency. So you kind of have to be cautious of that. We can't just be taking random supplements like willy-nilly just because we think we need them. You can supplement your way into a deficiency or a mineral imbalance. So,
Yeah, talk more about that because I was just about to ask you. It sounds like you
yeah.
probably aren't a huge fan of supplements, especially like vitamins. You
Yeah,
have your own book about eating your prenatals instead of, taking a capsule or a tablet or
totally.
whatever. Yeah, talk a
Yeah.
little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I have always been a food first practitioner through and through. I always feel like you got to have that foundational step down before you go and supplement. I have seen people do damage by supplementing with things like zinc. Vitamin D is one of them too, because that can cause calcification. So that can create improper calcium to magnesium ratios. But yeah, basically, I don't necessarily demonize supplements. I do find that they do have a purpose. And especially so if somebody comes to my practice and we run all 4 testing, we do the GI map, the Dutch, the HTMA, and a blood panel. Sometimes might require a good amount of supplementation, especially if there's a lot of gut bacteria present, if we have high estrogen, if there's just a lot of stuff, a lot of blood sugar stuff going on, that might require a good amount of supplements for a short period of time. But my main goal here is most people feel better just by incorporating nutrient-dense foods and getting rid of the junk. That literally most people will feel better that way. So you need to have that foundational step down before we start adding in supplements. The supplements aren't going to do anything. Or what if your digestive system is so wrecked, right? Are you actually, if you're not working on the mineral piece and the digestion piece together and you're just taking random supplements but not addressing digestion at all, you're not going to be absorbing any of that stuff. It's just going to be a waste of money, right? So you can definitely supplement your way into a major imbalance in some cases.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Like, I never thought about, maybe there's such thing as taking too much of a vitamin or a supplement, and it causing issues with something else.
Yeah. I mean, vitamin D, like I said, can cause like calcification, so it can create some calcium issues. Zinc can cause copper deficiency. Iron can create a copper issue or just a dysregulation issue in general. It can also feed bacteria in your gut. So if you're taking iron supplements, your gut if you can feed pathogens, parasites, things like that if you're taking iron. There's just a list of supplements that I'm just like, no, we don't want to be fooling around with those. And they tend to be the ones that most doctors recommend.
I was going to say iron is another one. Especially during pregnancy, they're like, yep, you need to take more of this. So
yeah. Our book actually goes over all of that because it's a hoax. It's not true. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
After this, I'm just gonna have to like go through the kitchen and be like, take everything away.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not worth it. I mean, just get it through food, until you actually know what you need, just get it through food. That's basically, that's the goal,
So what are functional foods? And then can you give some examples of what those might be?
Yeah, totally. So I am a huge fan. Again, everything about what I do is about adding in functional foods as opposed to supplementation if you can. Nature knows best. Everything, this is another thing, everything comes in its perfect package in nature, right? So nothing comes in isolation like mineral supplements do, right? Or like any vitamin supplement.
True. Yeah.
In nature, with food, it comes with all of the enzymes, all of the cofactors, all of the things you need to actually utilize and absorb those nutrients. So functional foods are just extremely nutrient dense, like superfoods, basically. They contain, like, I would say that they contain more like medicinal benefits as opposed to just food, right? So we have like beef liver. That's nature's multivitamin. It is loaded. For a long time, people were saying that's all you need instead of a prenatal. That's not the case. You do need more than that, but it is nature's multivitamin. It is incredible. It is one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. The thing is a lot of the foods that are functional foods are actually foods that our ancestors were smart about. Organ meats were prized. That was like, it was a prized possession, and they would give it to the people that needed it the most. So they would give it to pregnant women that are trying to conceive. Like, those were the first people to receive these organ meats in traditional cultures because they knew how nutrient dense it was. So our ancestors were way smarter than us. They had way more innate wisdom than we'll ever have just because of our modern society. But yeah, beef liver is an amazing one. Bee pollen. Bee pollen actually contains all of the nutrients that your body physically needs to survive, which is crazy. Oh, wow. Bee pollen is incredible. Loaded with B vitamins. It has some copper. It's just a really incredible food. So bee pollen, oysters are also incredible. Major fertility food. Loaded with selenium and copper. Really great for your thyroid. Raw carrot salad, I talk about that a lot, which is incredible too. It's just shredded carrots with coconut oil and some apple cider vinegar. And you would eat it like a couple times a day, once a day, and it actually helps to get rid of excess estrogen from your body. It also helps with like endotoxin and pathogens and things like that in your gut. So that would also be another type of functional food. I mean, I have a list, but I think those ones are, those are like my favorite ones.
Good list for people to start out with. Yeah. So then I guess on the other hand, what are some common foods that irritate the gut that people should consider eliminating from their diet?
Totally. In my course, I talk way extensively about this, but it is different for every person. It really depends on where you're coming from. Basically, raw vegetables, I have a major issue with those. And not like me personally, like I can eat them, but people that have digestive issues, most people will be like, oh, I've started getting really healthy and I'm eating all these vegetables and these salads. Yeah. And they're like, why do I feel so terrible though? And it's like, oh, because you're not digesting that. Do you actually think you're digesting this leafy raw green? Like we're not, we're not herbivores. Like we can't digest that stuff. We have cows to digest that stuff. We have other animals to digest that stuff. So raw vegetables can be super, super irritating to our gut. Nuts and seeds.
No idea.
Yeah, cruciferous vegetables are another big one, like broccoli, cauliflower, things like that. Beans, legumes, those can also be super irritating to our digestive system. But yeah, it does kind of depend on the person and the state of your digestive system. We really need to be focusing on superior foods. I would call those more inferior foods. You're not going to get a lot of nutrients. Our soils are so depleted and so terrible nowadays. Like we're not going to get much from those types of foods, but we do have animals that are really intelligent and awesome, and they actually can digest these greens and these things as they're supposed to, and they then supply us meat, dairy, eggs, things like that are super nutrient dense for us to consume, and super, super, super nutrient dense food. So the raw vegetables, like cruciferous vegetables, beans and legumes, things like that, which in the modern, like in the world today, plant-based diets, they would be all about that, right? Like that's what everybody needs to be eating to be healthy. I would say the opposite. I like a very diverse diet. So if you're able to eat those things on occasion and not feel bloated and gassy and terrible, then that's fine. But we don't want that to take over from the super nutrient dense animal-based type foods. So.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I actually was a vegetarian for over 10 years, like a very long time. And then when I was pregnant, all of a sudden I just started craving meat, and I hadn't had it in like over 10 years. I'm like, what is happening to me? And I've always said from the very beginning, like, I'm not going to deprive myself of anything. Like, if I feel like eating it, I'm going to eat it. So that's what I've done.
Totally.
I started eating meat again while I was pregnant, and since then, and now I'm still nursing, and I like still have that urge, and I'm like, yeah, I guess the baby just wants it. I blame her,
no, that's
but
good.
yeah.
Good for you though for listening. I feel like a lot of people don't, especially when they have really high like convictions with like certain like being a certain person and they've made something their identity and they can't fathom that their body is craving these foods. But you needed it, it's a time in your life that is very energy extensive and you needed it. So it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, that is funny actually. I had so many other people being like, but you're a vegetarian. You're not supposed to eat that. So it was like everybody else was telling me like, no, don't eat that. You're not supposed to. And I'm the one that's like, I don't care. I'm just going to try it and see what happens, and I was totally fine.
Yeah. And I mean, I know a lot of the stuff that I do talk about it seems to be controversial, which I think is hilarious. It's like when you actually think about how like the body works and how we need certain particular nutrients and all of the things, like it's honestly common sense. It just makes sense that this is how we should be eating. We should be eating a diverse diet of plants and animals and, getting all of our nutrients from superior sources, especially now that our soils are so depleted and things like that. And it's just so funny how a lot of people will think it's so controversial, that I'm just saying like, just eat an array of foods. Like don't choose a diet, just eat an array of plant and animal foods from nature, get rid of the junk food. That's it. It's really that simple.
I mean, somebody's going to have a problem with everything that we say, no matter what. So
it's true. It's
like, what are you going to do? Yeah. I guess along those lines too, what are your thoughts on other fad diets? Like there's keto, paleo, intermittent fasting. I even heard about these supplements now, or I guess they're like non-alcoholic beverages that have adaptogens in them. I don't know if you've heard about that. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on all of these things?
So, okay. Number one, everybody's going to try and sell you on something, right? So I think that's why I am controversial, because I'm not selling you on anything. I'm literally, I'm just here to help. Like I'm not selling anybody on anything, but these diets are they're selling you on it is what they're trying to do. And most of the time it comes into, we're playing on the fact that these diets help you lose weight. So it's either they help you lose weight or they are some type of a Band-Aid solution to a symptom that you're experiencing. So they're basically just feeding off of all of our insecurities. Every single diet is. That's literally all they're doing. Intermittent fasting, one of the most stressful diets anybody could possibly do, but you're going to hear a million studies about how people go into, autophagy and like all this, like you're going to hear all these big words and think, oh, this must be great, right? If you actually dive into it, it's not. And I think that's the thing. A lot of us like thrive off of hearing about studies and stuff. And I'm just like, guys, like we know nothing about any of these people that participated in this study. We know nothing about the mice in this study. We know nothing about the controlled environment that they're in. We've just become so disconnected from our own bodies that we're now seeking studies to tell us what we should be doing. So we choose to go with like keto or, intermittent fasting or any of these diets. Does it make sense to completely eliminate a food group? Does it make sense to completely eliminate carbs, our main source of fuel? Does it make sense to only eat one meal a day? No. Does it make sense to, completely disregard protein? No. These are all things that our bodies need. So when we actually sit down and think about it, these are just super, super stressful on our bodies. I have never had sick. One of the main reasons why I focus a lot on like the diet culture stuff is because I've seen it. I've lived it. The sickest people are the ones that go down a diet road. So you're doing something as a Band-Aid or to lose weight. Give it a little bit of time, and your body, since it's been running on cortisol and stress hormones for so long because of this diet, is going to crash 100%. So I see it every time.
Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. And then what about those non-alcoholic drinks? Have you seen those or heard about them?
I haven't, but I'm assuming it's just another one of those, like you see all these things for like this new colostrum or this new this or this new that. And I'm just like,
yeah.
I don't even look at it.
What's the point? Can it just be like You
Yeah.
have water, you have soda, you have juice. Like,
Yeah.
why does it need to be non-alcoholic alcohol? Like, what is the point
I
of that?
know, I know. I mean, I think
Whatever.
we're just getting, a lot of us are just so lost, you know? It's really, truly so simple to be healthy, but we're just getting lost in all of this marketing and this advertising and everybody just selling us on this and that and why we need this and
That's
why we
true.
need
Yeah.
that, you know? When it's like, just focus on eating real food, guys. That's all we need to do. Really, truly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, let's talk about hormones. I would love to first learn about some common signs and symptoms of hormonal imbalances and what people should be looking for, what they might overlook and think that it's, something else.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say the most common hormonal imbalance that I see in my practice would be estrogen dominance. I see it in most of my clients, and that's going to give you the symptoms of like the sore, painful breasts, PMS, heavy periods, cramping, things like that. Even symptoms of anything that has to do with growth. So estrogen is the hormone of growth. So cysts, fibroids, things like that. Basically, most hormonal imbalance symptoms are going to be leading to estrogen dominance, whether it be relative to progesterone or true estrogen dominance. So if it's true estrogen dominance, that means that your estrogen's high, but your progesterone is in range. So you do have enough progesterone, but your estrogen is just through the roof. Or if it's relative to progesterone, so your progesterone is so low that then that makes that estrogen high. So we have to look at those two hormones together when it comes to that. But yeah, those are the typical symptoms, but I mean, it can range to so many different things. But again, the root, what's the root? Minerals and digestion. There's a reason why you're not detoxing. You know, your liver's backed up, your gut's backed up, whatever is backed up. You're not pooping every day to get rid of that estrogen. There's always a root cause, and it always comes down to minerals and digestion pretty much every single time. So the hormonal piece is simply very far downstream. So.
Okay. Yeah. So I know you mentioned birth control earlier. That's most likely a common, mistake that people make when they're trying to balance their hormones. I remember okay, I'm just going to go on birth control to help, with my cramps or heavy period or whatever it is. So can you talk a little bit more about that and what are some other mistakes that people make?
Yeah, so I was on birth control for 12 years. So I am very familiar with birth control, and I had extreme post-birth control symptoms. That was a whole time of my life. But then again, why do I do what I do? It's because I've been through a lot of this stuff. So birth control, huge mistake. We do not want to be taking birth control. It basically shuts off your entire hormonal system. That ebb and flow that I was talking about doesn't exist. You're not ovulating. You're not having an actual true period. You're just having a bleed. So birth control is a big one. And then when you get more in depth into it, a lot of the times, if you were to go down the alternative route, people are going to recommend things like seed cycling. Taking supplements like DIM, stuff like that.
Okay, I haven't heard about any of these, so can you explain what is seed cycling and all of this? Yeah,
totally. So this is usually what happens. So you get put on birth control. This is the life cycle that I see women go through. You get put on birth control. You're on that conventional type stuff. Maybe you go on like metformin or you go on these pharmaceuticals, and then you start learning more about like alternative health, and you're like, okay, like. The more holistic minded people are saying I shouldn't be doing this. But a lot of them then are going to recommend things like DIM supplementation or seed cycling, tons of cruciferous vegetables to help balance your hormones. And that stuff right there actually creates more of a problem in your body. The seed cycling, I don't know if you've heard me talk about like PUFAs before, but polyunsaturated fats. So those are found in like nuts and seeds. It's in canola oil. It's in sunflower oil. It's just a really unstable fat that goes rancid in your body. And this tends to be the fat that's prominent in these seeds. So we have like flax seeds. So basically seed cycling is you take a tablespoon, you eat a tablespoon of flax seed, sunflower seed, and then like a couple other seeds that are supposed to help balance your hormones during that time. So it's supposed to mimic what your hormone cycle should be doing each each week, basically. So you're basically giving your body estrogen. Makes a ton of sense if you have estrogen dominance, right? Which most of us do. So that's a huge mistake. I've never seen people feel worse. I remember most of my clients talk about how bad their boobs hurt when they start doing seed cycling, because it's like it's actually creating more of a problem. Plus, then you have the rancidity of the polyunsaturated fats that are creating oxidative stress in your system and basically just going rancid in your body when you consume them. So we have that whole factor. And then the cruciferous vegetables. DIM is basically a very concentrated cruciferous vegetable supplement, I guess is what you could say. So it's like really, really, really potent. And a lot of doctors will recommend this if your estrogen is high. And because it's supposed to help with phase 1 estrogen detox. But the problem is that we have about 3 to 5 different phases of estrogen, and just addressing one phase isn't going to help the fact that this person is not pooping every day. It's not going to help that their methylation is whack. It's not going to help that, that their liver is burdened so that they're not able to actually get rid of it, or the fact that they're not producing bile to help escort that estrogen out of the body. So by just taking that one supplement, you're not doing your body any favors. So that's typically what I end up seeing is people going down this like conventional route and then ending up in the alternative holistic route, finding all of that. And then they end up finding my page and being like, oh, I guess all I need to do, all I needed to do was just eat a raw carrot salad and focus on food, So,
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I know there's so many, hormonal changes that women go through, puberty, pregnancy, menopause, perimenopause, like it's just, there's a lot to deal with. So how do you suggest, I know you've mentioned food, are there any specific tips that you would have for people navigating those hormonal shifts?
Totally. Yeah. So in reality, I mean, we shouldn't necessarily, like, we do have those phases, right? But those phases shouldn't be looked at any different than like the day we were born, right? We should always be focusing on nourishing our body, making sure that we are getting in the most nutrient dense foods possible. And that is going to have an easier transition. Your children going through puberty, into adulthood, and then through menopause and the reproductive years and all of that, it all is determined. How well you go through those phases is going to be determined on how well your diet is, how many nutrients you're getting, all that. Are you getting those minerals to supply your body energy to be able to go through those phases of life? So unfortunately, we do live in this world where people see these certain phases or certain things as almost like a disease. Like there's literally people out there that think of like menopause as like a disease. And it's like, no, this is a totally natural part of life. We don't need to be taking hormone replacement therapy. Like this is a natural part of life. This isn't a disease. And a lot of us, we've just grown up thinking our bodies are just like dirty and like, we get our periods and like, that's not a good, that's bad. And like, there's just so many like things revolving around us thinking our bodies are bad. And I think that thought process alone isn't supportive of any of those phases of life. But yeah, it really does all come down to nourishment, focusing on those types of functional foods that I mentioned. Blood sugar balance, huge. I mean, if we're not, the number one thing a woman can do for hormone balance is blood sugar, is making sure that your blood sugar is stable all day long. And guess what? That's going to require eating pretty often, eating every 3 to 4 hours, eating within 30 minutes of waking up, ditching coffee on an empty stomach. You'll notice a lot of us like stress eat or we'll binge later in the day because we haven't eaten all day. Like that's so bad for our hormones, our digestive system, our nervous system, all of that. So really focusing on nourishing foods and eating every 3 hours, no coffee on empty stomachs, no stimulants on empty stomach, eating within 30 minutes of waking up. Those are literally people will feel like a new woman just doing that alone, and that will turn into an easy transition into every phase of life.
Yeah, that's so simple too. It seems easy. I know I'm really bad about not eating during the day because I'll just like start working and just focusing on work and just be so busy and
And do you notice how much better of a person you are when you do eat though, right? Do
Yeah,
you not
true.
feel like a way better person? Like people, you're better to be around, like you're not as
Exactly.
moody, like you're able to like flow through the day very nicely. Whereas
Very
when you're
true.
not
Yeah.
eating, like you can be kind of a grouch. Like
Hey,
nobody
that's where
wants to
they
be
come with
around you.
hangry.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll be a better person and you'll feel better when you eat
Right.
in a pretty consistent manner. So it might require some like meal planning, meal prepping, things like that.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. It's totally worth it in the end.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So.
sure. So I know you mentioned this earlier. I want to circle back because I feel like I know this has been a conversation among my friends is getting off birth control. What did you call it? That post-birth control? And what happens to
Post-birth
you?
control syndrome.
Okay,
I
yeah.
think, who
What
was
happened?
it? Dr. Jolene Brighton. I think she was the one that coined that term. And basically, what can happen is you haven't been making your own hormones for how long, right? Like, depending on how long you've been on the pill, you haven't been making your own hormones. The pill is known to deplete vitamins and minerals from your body. So you're basically in this situation where when you go off, your body is super depleted. And not only that, your body is working really hard to try and make its own hormones again and get that cycle going again, getting you ovulating again. So a lot of the times people will go off birth control and notice they feel terrible. And it can show up in all different ways for some people. It can attack different areas. So for me, it was like my digestive system. I noticed I had insane histamine issues because my estrogen came back online. My estrogen was through the roof, and that was just recirculating histamine issues and causing more gut problems. So everybody has different experience with it, but you can usually plan on having, for me, it was 2 years of symptoms after going off
Wow.
birth control. Yeah. And of course, I wasn't doing what I'm doing now. Like I wasn't nourished or anything. So a big part of my job, if I do work with somebody that's trying to go off birth control, is getting their body, getting those foundations down, those nutrition foundations down, getting their bodies nourished and feeling really good. And then they have a better transition going off. Whereas somebody like me, the reason why is because I was actually on a super restrictive diet. I was way underweight. I was under eating, over exercising, and then decided I was going to go off of the pill. And, it was just kind of the perfect shitstorm basically for me. But my job is to get your body to a better place before you go off of the birth control, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And does it matter what type of birth control that you're on?
No, if it's, most people are on the combo pill. But typically if it's a pill of any sort, like you're going to have some issues. Most people that are on like the copper IUD have a better time going off. But of course that then, you have the copper IUD is a whole different thing, but you're basically putting this device in a super sensitive tissue area of your body, and you're absorbing that copper, and then that can lead to mineral imbalances. That's a whole different thing. But any combo birth control, combination birth control with synthetic hormones of any kind is going to be pretty difficult to come off of.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been there too. Try to get off.
Yeah.
I'm currently off. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
just not a fan. I have had the worst experience on birth control. So
It's tough.
not
It's
fun.
tough. And I mean, I felt fine when I was on it. So most women will be like, well, I feel fine on it. I don't want to go off, but you're not doing your body any favors. You're literally suppressing your cycle by being on birth control, So you're never ovulating. And if we're not ovulating, we're not producing our own progesterone. And progesterone is so important. It's anti-aging. It's, pro-metabolic, pro-thyroid. It's just a fantastic hormone. And we're never going to produce that on our own if we're on birth control. So, yeah.
So I know we talked a little bit about stress and how that can impact digestion and ultimately lead to disease. Can you talk a little bit about, I guess, how to help mitigate those effects, like what we can do?
Yeah, totally. So the best way, and I'm going to probably say it again, but the best way to become more resilient to stress is to provide your body those nourishing foods and do it often. every 3 to 4 hours. The best way to build resiliency in your body is to create safety in your body. So by giving your body what it needs and not having it guess, like, so this constant guessing game of like, is she going to feed me? Is she going to feed me? Just stresses your system out. So by feeding yourself every 3 to 4 hours and having kind of like a schedule, that's going to be the best way to build resiliency against stress. Also, like, because that's, like I said, like, some stressors you can't help, but a lot of the times when we're stressed out, we don't eat, and that's like the worst thing we can possibly be doing, and that's what then ends up leading to disease. We end up having, it's kind of like we have these like stages of stress, and eventually you hit that burnout stage, and that could have been prevented if you actually just fed yourself appropriately, basically. So eating frequency is huge, and making sure, just nourishing your body, just really providing it with all of those really nourishing foods.
Yeah, and I guess this is kind of going back to the hormones, I think. Adrenal fatigue, is that related to hormones?
Yeah,
I'm not even sure. But I would like to know more about it, because I had heard this term like maybe a year or two ago, and I was like, I feel like that's what's happening to me.
Totally,
I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, and I think we all hit that point where we're like, oh, we have adrenal fatigue, because it's kind of one of those terms that's like all over the place. And I wouldn't necessarily call it adrenal fatigue. I would just say that your adrenals aren't functioning appropriately, or maybe you have like low cortisol, or your cortisol's all over the place. But fatigue is kind of a strong word. I mean, you'd have to have like, what is it, like Addison's disease? Like, you'd have to be like really ill for your adrenals to just like check out, right? So your adrenals aren't checking out, they're just struggling. So basically your adrenals are responsible for your stress hormones. So when your cortisol, which I'm sure you've probably heard about cortisol before. So it's responsible for how you handle stress. And so most of us are in this chronic state where we're just like in fight or flight mode, and we're just super heightened. Our cortisol, it's fine. Our cortisol is fine. Like that's a natural response to stress. But the problem is that we're living in a state of stress so much, when back in the day, your cortisol should only really rise if you're like running from a bear, right? It shouldn't be all the time, all day long, chronically stressed out, chronically high cortisol. So basically, what happens is your cortisol is super high for a super long period of time. This is what's causing disease in your body, and then it crashes. And that's when you start to experience insane symptoms of that adrenal fatigue, is that's basically where that term comes from. But yeah, what does it come down to though? Your adrenals, what do they need? They need a lot of minerals to do their job. So the hair tissue mineral analysis test actually shows us kind of what's going on with your adrenals. Your adrenals love salt. If you're not consuming enough salt in your diet, you're not going to be nourishing your adrenals. Your adrenals play a massive role in blood sugar balance. So if you're not eating appropriately often enough, you're not supplying your adrenals what they need, and your adrenals just get super, super taxed by that as well. So there's a lot to it. I mean, I could do an entire like dissertation on adrenal glands just in general.
Wait, so can you just give a couple of examples, I guess, of some signs or symptoms that somebody might be having, and they can be like, oh yeah, this might be my adrenals and I need to look into this?
Yeah. So basically, you can't address your adrenals without addressing your thyroid too. They're constantly talking to each other. So, if your adrenals are burnt out, your thyroid's going to struggle. If your thyroid's struggling, your adrenals are going to burn out. So you kind of need to address both of those at the same time. But so fatigue. Just that term fatigue, just waking up tired even after, having a good night's sleep, or that wired tired feeling is a huge one. So you can be tired all day, and then at night, all of a sudden you get this like, second wind type of a feeling. Having like exercise intolerance, that can be a big one, where you just feel exhausted like while you're working out. Dizziness, huge one, especially when your adrenals are really taxed. This was something that I had back in the day, where I would be dizzy all day long, just chronically dizzy all day. So yeah, dizziness, just feeling overly fatigued even after a good night's sleep. Anxiety is a big one too, if your adrenals are stressed out. Basically any symptom of stress is going to be what it would be if you have adrenal issues as well.
Yeah.
Blood sugar dips, so hypoglycemia, like I mentioned, your adrenals kind of run the show for blood sugar. So, if your adrenals are taxed, then you're going to experience hypoglycemia. Somebody that has adrenal fatigue is going to benefit from actually eating every like 2 hours as opposed to 3 or 4 hours. Because you're going to have those dips, those hypoglycemia type symptoms, and like that shaking, and you're not going to be able to handle coffee very well, like getting kind of jittery or just kind of feeling kind of crazy and that kind of stuff when you drink caffeine. So,
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I remember feeling extremely tired and I was just like, okay, I guess I do need to rest. I feel like this is probably something that's very common with entrepreneurs. We work, get burned out, and then you have to take a break even if you don't want to. Your body is going to force you to take a break. I've heard that saying, like eventually,
And that's what happens is your body has been speaking to you for a very long time. And now it's like, okay, now I got to do something about it. And I learned my lesson, especially, since this is my business, I have my own business and everything too. And I learned my lesson, and I would say just like 2 years ago, I kind of like actually really started to listen to my body and really come out of that stressed out state. And I have never felt better in my life. I have just completely altered the way that I do business, how I take clients, my entire business model. I have completely altered it so that I am way less stressed out and I can do things on my own terms, just so that I don't reach that level, because I did reach that insane burnout level at one point running my own business. And I was like very physically ill because of it, because I did reach that crash and burn.
Yeah. Can you share just a couple of examples of what you did? I know being a service provider is hard because you do have to, like, that whole trade your time for money. Like, you have to actually go and exert yourself and meet people potentially face to face or whatever. So what did you do?
Yeah, so I do think it does kind of depend on the type of person that you are. I may not appear to be super introverted, but I am. I'm a very introverted person. So me having a lot of calls on my plate is not good for me. I physically don't feel well if I am on like 4 calls a day. Can't do that. And of course, when I was first building my business, I was doing a lot of one-on-one client work. So the type of work that I do is a lot of work. So I would have like a call with a client. Then after that call, I'm creating a protocol for like an hour or two. Then I would jump on another call with another client and then be creating protocols for them afterwards. And then it's just like, it was just so much work. And my calendar was just so overly full. And it's like, I almost felt like I couldn't catch a break, And, when you're an entrepreneur too, at the time, you're kind of thinking, oh, I shouldn't take any more clients, but you do, because you're like, but that's money, you know what I mean? And you kind of like, I should be doing this. And I had to really just come to terms that like, okay, one-on-one clients were not working for me, because I can't physically talk for that long during the day without feeling so exhausted. That's just not my vibe. I am very introverted, and I can't do that kind of stuff. So learning a lot about myself was a big factor in me changing the way that my business operated. So I learned that about myself, that's just not something that I can physically do. And then I ended up teaming up with my assistant at the time. And now we have a business together, and we created a membership. And we basically do all of our work together. We both take labs in the membership. I also altered the way that I do labs. So rather than doing one-on-one client calls, I do like video interpretations. They still get the same one-on-one support, but rather than us hopping on a call, it actually is way better, because I can go in way more depth on their labs and their case, as opposed to us sitting and chatting for like an hour and a half, and I'm not able to tell them everything that I want to tell them. So I can just send them a video, and then they can send me a message back about everything that they learned from the video and their protocol and all of the things. And that just works so much better for me, because I can do it on my own time. Like, it's just, those few changes have completely changed my entire life. Completely changed my life. Everything is on my own terms, my own schedule now, which is incredible. So
I love that. Yeah, that was really smart.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I know we're running out of time. I just have one more question. If you had one tip that people could do where you'd say, like, do this no matter how busy you are, whatever, and it will make a big impact on your overall health, what would that tip be?
I would say, okay, so number one, I have a couple, but I think the first one
Okay.
would be the coffee thing I mentioned. Do not drink coffee on an empty stomach, and do not drink black coffee. Make sure there's some cream in there, maybe some sugar, make yourself a latte. That's going to create major adrenal problems if you're having it on an empty stomach. So stop the empty stomach coffee drinking. That's number one. The other would be adding salt to your waters. So getting a good water filter, number one. So making sure your water is nice and clean. So like a nice reverse osmosis filter or something along those lines. Don't drink out of plastic water bottles. Your fridge filter is probably garbage. Like, we need to have clean water. So make sure you're getting clean water. Reverse osmosis is going to be the best. And then add salt to that. So a nice good sea salt. I like Jacobson's. Crucial 4 is good. Redmond's real salt is also okay. Malden's is okay, but adding salt to every water that you drink. So we're in this phase where have you ever seen people drinking those massive like gallon jugs? Yeah. Absolutely not. You are destroying yourself. You're basically just pissing out all of your minerals and creating insane imbalance. You need to be adding salt, because that salt's going to help you to actually absorb that water. And then guess what? Like I had mentioned before, it's also helping to support your adrenals. So by having salt in your water, you're also supporting your adrenals throughout that. But yeah, you can't absorb that water without salt. You need the sodium to absorb it. So yeah.
Okay, that's a really good tip. And I feel like those are both very easy for people to do. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, where can people connect with you, follow you online?
Yeah. So Instagram is going to be your best bet, at Wild Lyons Wellness. And then I would say that's probably the best place to find me now that I think about it. But I mean, I have some courses, and my membership is awesome. It's a private group. We have about 350 to 400 members in there. And that's where you can run labs. You can hang out with me and my my business partner, who's also a nutritionist. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Thanks for tuning in to the First Hustle Then Brunch podcast. If you enjoyed this episode or learned something new, I'd love if you subscribed and left us a review. Another way to support the podcast is to take a screenshot of this episode and share it on your Instagram story. Tag me at First Hustle Then Brunch so I can repost it. Thank you so much for supporting the show, and I'll see you in the next episode.